Dave, this may be the first conversation that we actually talk with someone that admits they have multiple personalities, and they can actually go in and out and share who both of them are. This is going to be awesome today. I'm pumped about this. So we're talking to Punch. Just let us know when that happens.
Okay. If you need to talk to Punch, let me know, because I have to kind of, I have to switch gears. Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
These guys, how's that?
Just kind of. I just performed last night. We've been doing shows from Tuesday through Sunday pretty much for the last 2 months, so I have to wake my voice up a little bit.
I'm sure you get it cranking whenever. But so what is? We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But I want to talk about this. I never talk about real estate on here, but I love it. Just like I'm sure. Like, what's your thing? Like, so for me, real estate was my thing, and then once you, I guess, get to a point where you're somewhat successful and you can thrive enough in your area, then you kind of get to spread out and say, man, let me do all these other cool things. But like, was music your thing?
Music is. Are we on now, or are we just?
I don't think so. He'll cut it and chop it. I think at some point he'll tell us we're on. Oh, he's recording. Okay.
Okay, so music has always been. I shouldn't say always, but. I didn't know I had any sort of ability to play music, and I won't call it talent. But when I was, I went to see Van Halen, the original Van Halen, the real Van Halen, and it was a life changer because it wasn't about music so much as just like there could be nothing more fun than that. The way it looked, the way it felt. It was my very first concert to go see. And it really just set me on fire about, it wasn't even just, I don't know if I ever even paid attention to the idea of being talented or playing music or anything like that. It just looked fun. And I think if you really go back to all of it, I just really like having a good time, having fun. My band, Naked Karate Girls, has been always about pretty much that very first concert I ever saw, which was Van Halen. We still recognized things then where Van Halen, they were playing on this, biggest stage you're ever going to see in the Coliseum. I don't know what the name of the Coliseum is now, but
here in Cincinnati,
yeah,
right by the river, by the Red Stadium,
yeah.
It's changed names a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is now currently. It was just called the Coliseum,
yeah.
Riverfront Coliseum at the time. And even though they were on this huge stage, they still all set up like the drummer, Alex Van Halen, was here, and then just to the corner of him was the guitar player, Eddie, David, and they were all within about an arm's length of each other. So still...
huge stage, but with an arm's length.
But they're still so tight. And that is, I still believe, if I was to talk to David Lee Roth, he would say, we did that because when you take a picture of the band, you're going to see everybody. And they were all lined up, and they would move at times out to the edges and corners of the wings of the stage, but they would bring it all back in. Majority of the night, I would say 75% of the night, they were all together. I always kept little things like that in mind, and still, I think, part of the reason Naked Karate Girls is still going after 14 years.
So I want to play off something like that, but I think we're going here. So it's Jimmy Lee King. We got to get the Lee in there.
Not to be confused.
Yes, right. Of Naked Karate Girls fame.
No, I'm actually Punch in Naked Karate Girls. So let me back up and help you here.
Okay, let's do this.
Let me steer you properly. Right now, I'm just Jimmy Lee King, but Punch is the bass player for Naked Karate Girls, who is he's not even just a bass player; he's a lead bass player, most arrogant man on this earth, and only knows two things, and that's bass and women. That is it.
That's all Punch knows.
That's all Punch knows.
Okay.
So Jimmy Lee King, way more boring than Punch. Punch is whole character.
Dave, this may be the first conversation that we actually talk with someone that admits they have multiple personalities, and they can actually go in and out and share who both of them are. This is going to be awesome today. I'm pumped about this. So we're talking to Punch. Just let us know when that happens.
Okay. If you need to talk to Punch, let me know, because I have to kind of I have to switch gears.
So the Jimmy Lee King thing. So congrats to you guys. So you do multiple things, but congrats about the Best of Northern Kentucky. So I think not Naked Karate Girls. So we can talk to Punch about that later. But Naked Karate Girls just won Best of.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you've received a ton of those things from City Beat in Cincinnati. This is from Northern Kentucky Magazine. You guys have consistently, from the band perspective, it's just one part of who you are, but you guys have consistently probably been a top 5 act in the city that's recognizable with the city of Cincinnati. Maybe number 1, right? I don't want to put that on you, but if you would walk around and say, hey, guys, give me the top 5 like local Cincinnati bands, whether they're cover bands, whether they're not, original music, who are they? Your brand of this band would consistently rank probably people under what age? Am I allowed to say that? Is it everyone still? Like, are people in their 20s, do they identify and connect with Naked Karate Girls?
It's interesting. It's a really cool question, because I see generations, and a generation for Naked Karate Girls is about 4 years.
Okay.
A generation meaning that people are able to come see us. They party with us. They're with us multiple times for 3 to 4 years. But then, life happens. They marry, get kids. But a lot of people have met and started families from Naked Karate Girl shows, and I still think that's a pretty awesome thing.
That is cool,
because people will come back and be like, "We met," and it's interesting. They'll say, "We met at a Naked Karate Girl show. When we got married, you played our wedding, and now we're on our 10th year anniversary." And those things are really pretty special and pretty cool.
That sounds purposeful.
It's neat when you figure somebody's wedding, or when they meet the person that they get married to. I mean, those are pretty special days, and to be included in someone's life story is
that's special.
Comes down to it. I mean,
so what about, go back to this David Lee Roth and Van Halen thing. I don't know who your person is, but probably Eddie. Is it? Like, you identify with the bass player, and is Eddie a bass player, or is he a guitarist?
My answer might surprise you, but it's Alex Van Halen, the drummer. That's who I'm really more of a drummer than I am anything in music. I still will always be, in my mind, a drummer. I never played bass. I might have picked up a bass and moved to bass until I started playing bass for Naked Karate Girls, and it was never a thing for me. I play guitar as well, but I don't consider myself a guitar player.
You have a hell of a voice, though.
I don't even consider myself a lead singer, although I've been a lead singer most of my life in bands, different bands, and touring, and traveled the world doing that. But to me, I'm still a drummer, and it's still Alex Van Halen.
That's it.
Yeah.
So how old were you at that first concert?
I don't want to say, but
okay, younger years or something.
Okay, I think I was about 1, and
right.
It was
30.
It was 1982.
Okay, all right,
so
1982.
So I think I was 1.
Man, I'm telling you, have an awesome memory for being 1. That's incredible, man.
I remember I remember things about girls, and I remember things about concerts.
Okay, that's Punch, though.
But that's both of us.
So back, if you weren't destined to become a musician until that moment and something triggered, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you weren't destined, maybe you were, but what did you identify or see that night?
It's the one and only thing I can say is the camaraderie and fun of what it was to be. It's human interaction when it comes down to it. Those guys look like that was the most fun you could ever have. Being in a band, it's a lot of work. Sometimes, it'll make you crazy. But it's still, there's nothing like it. When you have the synergy and camaraderie of the guys you play music with, there are few things that are like that in this world, unless you have some sort of team that you also can do that with. But when you're performing in front of people,
so I'm saying, take us to the stage. Like those of us that haven't, Dave's a musician, right? Take us to that stage on what that feels like.
You mean for Naked, or just when I perform?
Yeah, whether it's in front of 40 people or 4,000.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I always, as a guy who's played music for a while, I always tell our guys, and anybody in the band. I don't care if it's 10 people or 10,000 people. We are there to do a job. We don't get paid for bad nights. We don't get paid for off nights. We are there to do a great job, and we get paid well for what we do. So we sell ourselves as the greatest party in the galaxy. We have to show up and be the greatest party in the galaxy. Being on stage, in being part of that of a band is this. It's sort of a time. It's like time gets weird when you're really in that moment of being on stage. There's times when you can play 3 hours straight and it feels like 10 minutes because you can just get in this
Zone.
vibe, the zone, the super focused zone. And I think everybody knows that. Even when you watch a great movie sometime, you'll be like, wow, that went by, and it was 3 hour long movie. Avatar was 3 hours long, but it didn't feel like 3 hours. It was just amazing. But it's like that. That's what you hope for, honestly, is that you get in that zone where you're not, and you can't think ahead and you can't think behind. It's the only time in my life where I'm ever totally present in the moment. That's why I love it.
So what puts you in a position to be able to be there? So those of us that felt at different points in our life, how could you describe or advise or be a mentor to someone and they're like, well, how do I get in the zone? I've never felt it. Like, how do you get there? So you're on stage. What brings you to that moment where you're able to transcend to that, where 3 hours is gone and you don't have to think about a note? You don't have to think about your interaction with the other guys. It just happens. How do you get there?
I think the only thing that would make sense to me is that, for one, you do whatever it is that you're on fire about. Whatever it is, if money didn't matter, you would do this anyway. And once you're doing that, then it doesn't, well, I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but it doesn't feel like you're working. It feels like you're being, and we've all been given things, and that we're going to be able to do and do better than others. I mean, listen, you may play golf or, tennis or something, but you're probably not as good as Tiger Woods.
Never will be. But why? So why? So you're right, I'm not, and I'm never going to be, but why is that?
Whatever it is you do, though,
yeah,
and that you do well, Tiger Woods probably is not going to be better than you at your best thing. It's finding that thing. That's the journey. That's the real adventure, I think, and it's doing enough things where you realize that, hey, this is what I'm good at, because I think you'll find that the things that you're good at are things that you like. Mm-hmm. So I think the first things first is that whatever it is you're doing, you do things that you love and you would do even if money didn't matter. Music for me is a thing that I even tried to stop for a little bit. I became a scuba diving instructor and moved to the Caribbean, and I couldn't get away from it. Music wasn't a thing I really chose. It kind of chose me.
So do you think a part of it too is whatever chose you or whatever decision we make, this is our thing, do you think that part of that zone, is that from going all in and putting yourself in a spot where you can just be in that moment and the programming of your mind, the repetition, doing it so much? Do you think you have to be there for that to happen? Could a new musician 3 months in get to that place where they're in that zone, in that moment, on stage in front of people? Do you think that's possible without being great at something?
I think it's easier to do it initially, because when you're doing anything, that's the most exciting time. And I think the harder part is when you've done it for a long time. How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep yourself in a place where you can get in that zone? But it's finding ways to still have fun with it.
So how do you do that now? So how long have you been doing this? So both you have Jimmy Lee King and Punch, right?
Punch.
So you have albums as a soloist,
yeah,
right? So how does that person, for as long as you've been doing this since 1980, so how do you keep it fresh?
I was one when I started.
We want those pictures. Hey, Dave, make sure that he sends the videos of the parents and the friends around him at one bang on those drums.
I was still killing it. It's a big question. I think if you're doing things that you love to do, it doesn't register like that. But it's also, you said something a moment ago about being all in. I don't really know any other way to do things, and I want to do things well if I'm going to do them. I don't want to waste my time. I mean, I'll hey, every now and then I get asked to go out and play golf with somebody. I'll let them know ahead of time. Listen, I'm not a good golfer. I'll go out there to enjoy it. I won't go out there to stress it. I'll go out there to really ride around on the cart and
have fun and cut up and make fun of guys.
Exactly.
Right.
And I do totally enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
But
all in.
Yeah, but as far as doing things for real, I mean, I still feel like I live for that zone that you were discussing. That feeling where I did a soundtrack, music score for a movie during COVID, and there's days I went down there and worked for 16 hours straight, and I just could get in that zone, and I love that just as much, because it's that thing where I was down there for 16 hours working, but it went by in, a snap of a finger.
The passion's just firing.
Yeah.
Right. It's tough to explain, isn't it?
It's really tough to explain, but I think it makes complete sense that, hey, you do the thing that you really love. Yeah. You're going to be good at that thing. And being good at things is, keeps you inspired.
So how do we share that with people? No matter what we do, whether it's a guy like me selling some real estate, because you're so much more than a musician. You are. You do production things, you do film editing, right? So many things. You have a studio.
Yeah.
So for that person that's, I don't care what age, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they haven't found their passion, what do you do? Like if that's a best friend sitting there and you're having a drink and you're having this conversation, it's like, man, I'm just looking for my thing the way you found it, Jimmy. Like what do we tell them as a friend?
I think, hey, we all got a dream. We all got to be able to let ourselves dream about things. I think we have to be realistic about our dreams at times, which is,
who wants to do that?
Well, nobody. Nobody wants to do it. I mean, I want to, have
Yep.
millions of dollars and live on Kauai. But realistically, right at the moment, I'm not able to do that. So I got to think of other things that I can be inspired by. And like the place I live now, it's the most amazing place I can live in this part of the country. Taking money out of the equation sometimes is a way to get started on that. What would you do if money was no option? If you did win $1 billion, like one of the lotteries are right now.
Mega Millions, 1.02 billion.
I mean, you could say, I want to buy this and I want to buy that. I want to give money to this. I want to do that. I want to start a company, whatever it may be. But after you get past that initial spending spree that you probably would do, then what would you do? What would you find yourself doing if just money didn't matter? And, I think that's a good place to start is just, hey, what would I have fun doing if money didn't matter? And fun is the key word. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about you, but I just want to keep having fun. Doing things that have fun are a good way to find direction.
So is that feels like, I remember I was 2. I remember at a local venue, and I'm not the biggest musical fan. I love music. Like if I told you what I was just listening to an Eminem song. I just was, and I could listen to Pavarotti, Eminem, some country music. So I think I'm a fan. I always have music going on. But I remember the first time I saw Naked Karate Girls, and I've probably seen you guys 2 or 3 times because I'm just not that dude to go out to concerts and stuff. But I went, this is a hell of a freaking entertaining moment. This is fun. And I don't think if you guys weren't having fun, I don't think I would have felt like I was having fun. And it was more than just the music that was happening. Right? So it seems like a part of this band that you guys have created. It seems like it's probably, the foundation's probably fun. I don't know. I don't know if that was an idea in the beginning, but that seems like that is fun up there on stage.
It is the foundation of it. I'll take fun over good any day.
So that's what I'm wondering. Yeah. So as I listen to some of your guys, if you go to your website, is it nakedkarategirls.com?
Yep.
Okay. So if you go there and you watch some of your YouTube videos, the vocals aren't perfect all the time.
That's even putting it nicely.
Right? And I'm sitting here listening and I'm like, look at the people in the crowd and they're having fun. And so that's the question is, what's it take to be a great singer, a great band? What's it take?
To be a great singer, I wouldn't know.
You have a hell of a voice, though. You have good vocals. Like, because great, I think a lot, you guys are great at whatever we consider great, because when people come to your shows, man, they pay a lot of money first to put them on, corporate events, people pay a lot, and when you come, it's fun. So you guys are at a level of great. Whatever it is you do, you're that. So what's that take? If it's not perfect vocals, if it's not the perfect, what is being a drummer? What would make a perfect drummer?
I don't think it's about being perfect.
Yeah.
And okay, there are albums, and I won't mention the actual musicians, but there are albums out there that are perfect. They're just perfectly recorded. They're just perfect, and I don't find myself wanting to listen to those albums. I'd prefer to listen to things that sound like real humans, the real human interaction of playing music. The playing music together is fun. As when you first start out playing music, it's not about you thinking you're going to make money from it. It's or any of that stuff. It's just fun to play music with other people, much like you might play baseball or soccer or something. It's fun to play on a team of people. Music is a more intimate idea of that. As far as being great, I don't know if anybody ever starts out as like this idea, I want to be great. I'd still think you just start out saying, I want to have fun.
Yeah, and you have a great time, and then you get better, and you're like, I really like doing this thing. And maybe that's what drives some more success and stuff. What have you found from, because your band, something that's really interesting about this is, and I love it, kind of kicks into what we do here at this podcast, is it's a business, right? So can you share the idea of the Naked Karate Girls being a business?
The initial idea, it took me a while to figure out what it was that Naked Karate Girls did that was unique. And our unique doesn't make us better than anybody. We're no better than any other band, and we don't think of ourselves like that. We're just another band. But the idea was that I figured out with me of how I can explain what Naked Karate Girls is. And for a long time, it was tough to do that. But we hang out, we have a good time. We're going to do exactly, if you have a group of buddies that you get together with and you guys have some drinks, you probably end up making fun of each other, doing things that doing pranks with each other. Those are your best friends. You can't do that with people that aren't your best friends. Naked Karate Girls is that we put on stage in front of people and crowds of people that we invite into our best friend circle, and we make everybody part of that show. And if we can be successful at anything, it's disarming people and making them feel like they are part of our family. And that's how we have fun with others. It's not about being good. It's not about being great. It's about being there for people. It's about creating a foundation, a spot where people can go and feel comfortable hanging out, having a drink, not even having a drink, just having fun. We play music, but it's about all the things that are not us playing music that really is what is unique about us.
How long have you guys been playing music? Like 25 years or something?
The band, Naked
Yeah.
Karate Girls?
Yeah.
14 years.
So it feels like forever to me.
It does.
Right? And so, but how does something stay together that long? How does a band, because for me not being in the industry, you see so many things come and go, breakups and personalities and egos. How does it stay here for 14 years and you still have this passion about it?
Well, that's the business aspect of it. I'm very, very fortunate that my drummer and main business partner, Glenn Kukla, Lieutenant Jack Wu, when he's playing drums, he and I have approached this like it cannot fail. We're not going to let it fail. It's not going to fail. This is going to succeed, and it's going to succeed as long as we do it. We can never be in a hovering position. We've always got to be going upwards to a certain degree. Anything other than going upwards all the time is going over the edge of the cliff.
Why is that? So going upwards, moving forward, always growing, why is that? If you're not doing that, you're going over the cliff.
Well, after 14 years, you have to keep evolving. You got to keep things fresh. People don't want to come out and see the same thing over and over, especially if they're going to come. I mean, we're going to do over 250 shows this year. It's very possible that people enjoy seeing Naked Karate Girls are going to see us. Well, just like this last week, we had people come to 5 different shows. They came to all of them, and we've got to have this ability to make all those shows custom. They're their own show, even though we play all the time. What we've created is this foundation that we work off of, but it changes every night. And we have 6 hours of music we can play. So we're going to play different music and different, points of the night. Different things are going to happen. And it creates the ability to have people see us multiple times in the same week and it not be the same show.
You have 6 hours of music. What's your average show length?
3 hours.
Do you have that set 100%?
Not at all.
See, that's awesome. Explain that to me. How does that evolve in the moment?
It's a little bit of magic, honestly. The drummer and I, Lieutenant Jack Wu, Glenn, he and I can almost read each other's minds. And I know that might sound a little cheesy, but we really don't use a set list anymore. What we do is we read the crowd. We see what feels right, and he and I'd say 95% of the time, will already be thinking of what is the next song we should do. And we have little hand signals and little...
You just know.
We do. Just know. We really do. We have been playing together for 14 years, and that gives us an advantage to kind of read each other's mind. And also, if he starts a song that's different than what I was thinking, it's still a good choice. We don't have bad choices on our song list. We've taken all those out.
That's awesome. So that is awesome to know that, because when you share, and I bet people listening are going to think of moments in their life where they had that relationship with someone. It could be a significant other, could be a business partner, could be a best friend. Whether it's a sport analogy and you're on a basketball court, you just know. Like, the guy just knows the way you're dribbling the ball down the court, the move, the speed. He just knows what to do, he or she. That's awesome that you guys have that. And you probably have to if you're not going to have a set list. You have to.
There are times when we'll use a set list when there's specific things that a company, we do a lot of corporate shows for companies, and they'll ask us to do a certain thing in a certain order. And then we do that. We work with a lot of companies, and we're willing to custom make that show to whatever it is that is their dream. And but when it's not, and they just say, "Now you guys are the pros, and you know what you do best. You guys just do it." Our best thing is just to go up there and feel it.
I was gonna say, does that work better? Like, do you prefer that setup? So if I just said, "Hey Jimmy, let's put this together, man. Here's the check. You guys put it together. Here's who we are. We're going to have a party, but just go up there and entertain us, man." Is that better as an entertainer? Is it better to do that?
I think a lot of times it's better, but the thing I was talking about with keeping things fresh.
Yep.
I'm really a person who loves challenges. When someone gives me a challenge, we went to Jamaica in January, our first international show.
Congrats, man.
And the challenge of getting all of our stuff to Jamaica through customs, through all that stuff. What do we take? What do we pack? When we get down there, how do we work with a sound company down in Jamaica? All these things were challenges, and a lot of them are daunting, but you can either like challenges or not. And
it fired you up.
I like them.
Yeah, the prep.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure we were awesome at that event as well. And we went down there with Eagle Finance Company, who's located here in northern Kentucky, in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And it was just such a great experience all around. But I like the challenges. So even to your question, when we get a thing like that, that's a challenge to me. And it's not just a challenge to be able to get through it. It's a challenge to me to take their expectation and go way over and exceed it. And I want them to feel like they made the perfect choice of getting us to be there on that special day. They might have been dreaming about this idea of this particular show for 2 years.
And spent a ton of money on it.
Yeah, and a ton of money, ton of time. You have committees. I call it committee hell, because committees that have to sign off and this and that. So by the time we get there and get this show going, a lot of work's gone into it. I want to exceed their expectation and make them look like a rock star for picking us.
So how many musicians are a part of Naked Karate Girls?
Right now we have probably about 14.
Okay, that's awesome. How many on any given night are at an event?
If we're doing one, we only have one show.
Yep.
That will be at least 6 people.
Okay.
And when we are doing 2 events, and sometimes 3, these last several weekends, we've done 3 events on pretty much every Saturday. We'll have 5 to 6 people at each event.
So why do those people want to be a part of the Naked Karate Girls? Why do those musicians choose to do this thing with you and Lieutenant
Jack Wu?
So,
Lieutenant
Jack.
Wu.
Well,
Yeah.
So why do they choose to do that?
I think if it were me and I was a musician in the city, they would hopefully see that we're a pro act. Although it's supposed to look like we just tripped on stage and it sort of fell in place. It's a lot of work to make it look that dumb.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think, hey, we also we pay really well.
Yeah.
There's no secret that with us, you're going to get your travel. We travel and go to a lot of cool places, and you're going to get treated well, and you're going to play good gigs, and get paid.
You don't have to worry about all the stuff.
And that's another thing. Lieutenant Jack Wu and myself, we pretty much handle all the dirty work and the hard lifting, and other guys most of the time get to just show up and plug in and play and leave.
Did you have an idea where did Naked Karate Girls come from, the name?
You know what? It's we have so many different stories about where it comes from.
So give me the one today.
The one, I'm going to give you one today. There was this woman from Japan, and I'm not going to use her name, but
Is it Yoko?
What was that?
Yoko?
No, I can't. I don't think Yoko's from Japan.
Yoko Ono? Come on, man. Come on.
I don't know.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
And she was a martial arts instructor, and I was training in martial arts at the time, and I told her we're getting ready to start this band, and she's a very attractive woman from Japan, and I said, hey, I want to use something with the word naked in it, and because Cincinnati is so conservative, I want to use some word that's not too much, but
the anarchist in Punch.
Yeah, can be provoking. And she said, why don't you call it Naked Karate Girls? I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. And so this is a total lie, by the way. But it's just the story that I've chosen for today.
For today. So you're not going to tell us the real story, but that's good. Okay. The evolution of it. But did you think, when you had the vision of the name that you created then, did you have the vision of 10 or 12 or 14 years later, like we're seeing here today, of it have evolved to what it is?
No, it was actually when we got started from a business aspect, we all thought we had about a 5-year shelf life, because most bands don't last more than about 3 to 5 years in Cincinnati. The name actually hurt us for a while.
From a corporate. Yep.
Church festivals. We do a lot of church festivals, but no church festival wanted us, because we had that scary, the word naked in the name, and we finally had a church. I believe Katie Walters. I don't know if you know Katie Walters.
I've heard the name. I don't think I know
she
that
worked
one.
for another radio station in town. Q102 for a long time, and then she recently now has a position at iHeartRadio, and she's a promotions director now, and she's a huge friend and love of mine for all years. I believe she was the person who got us our first church festival. She liked us, and I guess she saw our fun aspect of our band, and she helped us really at a time when nobody else really did. And we got a church festival, and on a Thursday, and we sold all of their beer that they had allotted for the whole weekend on a Thursday. Church festivals loved us after that.
How'd that happen? How'd you sell all their beer?
Because we are the greatest party in the galaxy, and people come to hang out, and when we're having a good time, you said it before, we're having a good time, people are disarmed, and they engage in the party.
Man, I remember when I came, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys had a roll of toilet paper Oh, what the hell was this? And I'm like, a roll of toilet paper for a band on stage? And I don't know if you ended up blowing it and it rolled off or something, but I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it's we get a little messy. It is true. We have a blower, like a leaf blower.
Yep.
And we attach this apparatus to it that lets us be able to put rolls of a very specific roll of toilet paper. They all won't work. This is like serious
research,
experimental ground, to find the right toilet paper that would fly.
It came off that roll well, man.
Yeah, it comes off the roll well, but it's got to float in the air. So if it's like the multi-sheeted, quilted,
yeah.
It doesn't work. It'll just go.
You need to have like, I don't care. Who cares about it? You need like the quilted northern stuff, man. Like
Try it. It won't work. We've tried
Are you going
it.
to tell us which one?
No.
You're not going to?
That's a trade secret.
So anyway, this was, I couldn't believe it. I went, what the hell is going on here? It was at Jefferson Hall at Newport on the Levee. Is where I saw you guys.
I was hoping you would say that because it was one of our Wednesday nights. We had a legendary big Wednesday night that we did for 4 years straight. And we love that show.
Dude, that was cool.
That helped us really become our band because we had this residency that we could try stuff and do new things and put new songs. We played some of these songs that went over so awful that we were able to cut those out of our list because we could try them out on Wednesdays.
I don't even remember what songs it was. That's how I know it was memorable, like the experience and the entertainment. I don't even know the songs.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
The songs don't matter.
Yep.
It's the experience. It's the having fun and just, hey, we do it really well, I think. We never really were worried about our performance. Again, when I started playing bass for Naked Karate Girls, I had never played bass before. I totally just sold it that
Dave,
I could do it.
He's insulting you bass players. Can you believe this? He's saying it's so simple. He never even played. It was just 4 little strings, and he just picked up he just picked it up and strummed a couple strings, and it sounded good.
We gotta have fun.
Yeah. Interestingly, bass to me is the in between of guitar and bass. It's it's actually playing drums through a guitar or bass.
So
They're very
bass is
similar.
between a guitar and drums.
It's actually like it's maybe I said that wrong.
Yeah, you said
but
it's between a guitar and bass.
it's actually between
guitar.
a guitar and drums.
Okay.
Maybe I should say
Yeah.
that. It's just I really feel more like I'm playing drums, on a stringed instrument. It's such a rhythmic thing, for me. So
I shouldn't have quit playing drums, man.
yeah.
My mom rented me a set of drums when I was 7 years old for like 2 months, and I just didn't play them much, man.
Wow.
She should have kicked my ass. She was a piano player.
Yeah.
She should have kicked my ass.
It kind of dovetails into we restarted Legendary Big Wednesdays this summer.
Where?
We're at Newport Hooters and Beer Cellar on the river.
So you out in the open area there?
Out on the open stage.
That's awesome.
And last night it was just we've been doing it for like 2 months, and it keeps just like at Jefferson Hall, it just keeps gaining strength, and more people are finding out that we're there every Wednesday. And just like years ago, people are starting to do their parties, and like last night we had this huge group of teachers that came down. We had 150 people down there on a Wednesday night. And if you were Legendary Big Wednesdays at Jefferson Hall back in that time, that our Wednesday night was the biggest thing in town of all week. I mean, our Wednesdays were bigger than the weekends.
You couldn't walk in that place.
Yeah.
You couldn't walk in. How that bar was set up, it was
Yeah,
a weird
yeah.
bar. It was tough to kind of get around it, but you couldn't walk.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a party. And so explain to us about, go back to the J Hall days.
Yeah.
How many people you think were in there? 200-300?
It first started out with nobody.
Yeah.
Just like we had to build that thing, and it took us a few months to build it in, and then we were also gaining traction at that time.
Mm-hmm.
That was our infancy of our business, and
That's probably like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago.
it was 14 years ago.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I think I was there, man, for my, what the hell, I'm 43 now. I
Yeah.
think I was there for my 30th birthday.
That would make
13
sense.
years
then.
ago?
Yep,
I
that would
think
make
I
sense.
was.
We started doing that after about our first year
Okay.
of going, and what was that? 2009.
Yeah, so it would have been, so we're 13. Yeah, 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we started in 2008, and that would have meant we started around 2009, and then that ran, like I said, for 4 years, and it was just awesome that we were able to make that thing happen. And
It felt great, man. I don't think that There's a lot of people go to a lot of concerts, like I said in the beginning, more than me. But I like going to a good concert. I felt the same that night that I feel going to any concert. Right, I just do. You sit back and it honestly, the spectacle was just very few concerts you go to where you have that much fun. So maybe this 150 thing down at Beer Cellar and Hooters, maybe it grows to 400 or 500 people. You'll sink the damn thing, man.
It's fun to see that happen. It becomes one of our favorite shows of the week because it is more of a hangout show for us too. It's kind of like our party.
It's like your practice. I like being at practice.
It's not I wouldn't say it's a practice so much as we will though bring in new songs. We will just say, hey, everybody just show up and hey, if it bombs, we'll know it real quick. But it really is just more of like it's our fun hangout night, and it's very cool.
What does what's it like if there's 10 people or 300? I know you said you're going to play the same. But is that a different experience?
It is a different experience, but it becomes more of us making fun of each other, more pranking each other, more just when there's only 10 people, I want to mention this one story because I'm still very proud of it in Naked Karate Girls, history. We played a show at a casino one night, and there were no kidding, there were 11 people. It was easy to count 11 people. But after our show, there was a guy who saw us, who was there that night, one of the 11 people. He saw us play, and he was a major promoter for one of the Cleveland Cavaliers events. So he could see that if we can do this kind of show for 11 people, what's it going to be like for 11,000 people? So we got to do all of those Cleveland Cavaliers shows, the pre-show things outside of the Cavaliers when LeBron James was there and they were winning all the, titles and things. So we will always go back to that and say 10 people, 10,000 people. It doesn't matter. We still are there to do our thing. And it could be Steven Spielberg out there who sees us, from a corner in the back of the room and says, these guys are going to be in my next movie.
Do you find yourself in a mentorship position a lot of times with other people in the band?
I don't know if I think of it like that. I really don't. I mean, we're all just, hopefully when people come in to play with our band, they're going to be on a certain level and they're going to be in a place where, and we just want to have fun. We just want to make it fun for everybody. But I will help direct the ship, like, hey, if somebody's,
because experience, it's not, you can be very humble about it and you can say, hey, I'm just one of the guys. But, experience lends well to people who haven't had that same experience, right? It just does. Like there's this book, a New York best time seller. I think Malcolm Gladwell wrote that book, 10,000 Hours.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read it or anything, but
I haven't.
So what he makes an argument there, a ton of research. So he's from Jamaica, I think his mom or his dad. But he makes the argument that it takes 10,000 hours to be proficient at anything. Through all this research, whether it's Dave being a producer, whether it's you being a musician, whether it's your editing, whether it's 10,000 hours. That's 5 years, 40 hours a week for 5 years. And if that's the case, or somewhere around, maybe it's 8,000, maybe it's 12,000. If there's a guy that comes in that has 500 hours, you can be in a position where you can really help that person tremendously. So I just think of the moments of the people that I'm around that about showing up. And you don't judge a book by its cover. No matter what somebody's wearing, don't judge the amount of money they have or the importance or the things that they've accomplished and done in life.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, but even if you don't want to see yourself as a mentor, there's experience and there's hours and there's things you've done that I'm sure the guys that come after you, that you can probably help them a ton.
I think for me, I want people to be able to be their thing, whatever their thing is. I want to help them when I see that I can help. I am the first one to jump in and kind of help when I see that they need it. But I also, I'm very much about, if you really have to be told a lot about how to be a Naked Karate Girls, you're probably not the right guy. Well, you should be able to easily assess, hey, should I do this or not? Because it's not about just standing there playing your instrument with us. We honestly don't care about that. Can you have fun? can you get out of trying to make yourself feel like a rock star, look like a rock star and cool? Because sometimes it's the opposite of that. We're the most self-deprecating band of all.
You could be comedians on stage maybe, right?
Or just be able to have fun and make fun of each other and make fun of yourself, on stage.
So you don't think you can teach that then? I'm going down a different path here when you said, hey, if you need to be told how to be a naked karate girl, you probably shouldn't be one. Well, how do they know that? How do they become that?
I think there's people that will want to work with us and have wanted to work with us, but they get in there and realize this is just not my thing, and it's not everybody's thing. Again, playing music is important. Don't get me wrong; you have to be able to have the chops, but being able to just have a good time is a lot of times harder for people, and because it's you can't just have a good time just standing there. Some people that might feel good to play music, and that's all great, but for performing, that's a whole other thing, and being entertainment. It's more about being entertainment for us than playing instruments.
There was a moment where I was entertainment for people, and I shouldn't have been. A good buddy of mine, we were at a conference. He's in the real estate business. He actually used to tour, and he's like one of those guys that he was one hit or one song away from maybe having that contract. But he's up on stage singing a Beastie Boys song. He got up and took the mic. I don't remember what it was. And he jumped up there. He's like, hey, Perkins, come on up. And I went, oh, no. I don't have any business being up there, man. No. He's like, oh, yeah, come on up. So 2 songs later, he cranks on Beastie Boys again. He gets up there. I don't know the words. I'm clueless. I probably don't have the right musical mind. And I get on that mic and start talking some craziness and jumping around, and we were having a great time. And I looked out, and there's 25 people jumping around on the floor. And so I had no business being up there. Didn't understand any of the things that a musician really understands. And we all had a great time. And so maybe that's a part of it, right? There's something about this naked karate girls, but how's that apply to us in life? About the thing that we want to do or choose to do. Should you try doing things without really knowing if you belong? Are you a part of it? Are you going to be good at it? I don't know. Should we?
That's a big question.
It's real big. We could talk about it for hours, right?
That's a big question. I in my experience, I think we always should be pushing ourselves to learn new things. Every day I'm trying to get better or smarter in some aspect. There's few days that I ever feel like I've earned enough, I call it another word, but it's my goof off time. And, but hey, when I feel like I've earned my goof off time for the week, then I am totally unplugged. And I just don't want to do anything other than lay out by the pool, and that's it. And I will do that, and I'll watch a movie. But the rest of the week, I'm up early, I'm up late, every day, to be able to try to do all the things I really want to do. But it's also part of the process of you got to keep learning. You got to keep trying to get better, try new things. Who knows if you haven't tried something, who knows? I mean, if you've never swung a golf club, who knows if you're good at it or not?
How do you know when to quit?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I don't think there is such a thing. I don't have retirement as part of my goal. My goal is to not retire. I mean, most people I know do want to. That's their goal. Oh, I want to be able to retire by this age. To me, I have no plan for that. I just want to keep doing. I want to keep getting better. I want to keep producing things. I want to keep the essence of a creative person is to keep breathing life into things that were not there. I'm not sure that everything can be thought of as a creative idea like I think of it, but really when it comes down to whatever you're doing in your life, the thing that makes you feel good, or you're trying to produce or create. I mean, you really are being creative in some aspect. So I had a guy that I worked for in the Virgin Islands for a scuba company called Cruise Bay Water Sports. And he taught me one of the greatest lessons of all, and I keep it in my mind all the time. Everything is a show. Everything. Whatever it is you're doing, if you're working on a dive boat, because if you're working as a dive instructor, really what you're doing is you're taking people on scuba dive trips, which is one of my loves of life is to be scuba diving. I've done over 1,500 dives. I love scuba diving. It's just second nature to me. But to be able to make money as a dive instructor, you're working for tips. How do you make more money at tips? And I was doing all the stuff, and I was putting people's tanks together and getting everybody in the water, and everybody's coming back safe. But my tip money wasn't all that great. And so I just went and asked him, and his name was Marcus. And he said, I just said, I'm not making that much money in tips. He said, you have to make it a show. You have to make whatever you do a show. You have to talk to people. You have to make it interesting. And I thought about this for a good month. And I started I came up with these things I wanted to try, which are develop these little stories. There was a dive site that we went to commonly called Deaver's Point. So I came up with this little story where I would tell people on the dive boat, you would do a dive briefing with everybody on the boat, and you're going to the dive site, and I have 10 divers there, and that I'm going to be leading on a tour. So on the way, I'm like, everybody, I want to brief you on the dive we're getting ready to do. You know, it's got a depth around 60 to 70 feet. But the really cool thing about, or more important thing you should know, is that Captain Devers was a pirate, was hung here at this point. It's called Deaver's Point because this pirate was caught looting and stealing things from the British Virgin Islands, and which is, Tortola is just right by St. John where I was working, and he was caught right here, and they hung him right off the end of their boat, and these are the things that I started making all my tip money from. It wasn't me being a good diver. It wasn't me being kind. It was that I was making it fun. And people would be on the edge of their seat watching me and listening to every word I said. When I changed that, I changed my money. So whatever it is you do, if you're going to be a real estate agent, if you're going to be a producer, if you're going to be whatever it is, you're going to be a waiter. I was a waiter, and I was an awesome waiter. Using this lesson in my life, it's the best lesson I can give to anybody, is whatever you do, you make it a show. You make it awesome, and you make it more exciting and fun than others.
I want to know who saved Captain Devers.
It was a complete makeup.
I know. I want to hear it. You have me on the edge of my seat. I want to know the continuation.
Nobody
of the
saved
story.
him. He was hung. He was hung, and after his body sat there and rotted until his body and head fell into the ocean.
Make it a show. When you were saying that, I reflected back to a few minutes ago when I said, hey, how Naked Karate Girls, how was it named? The story you made up.
Yeah.
There's nothing true about that.
Not at all.
I know. So I'm like, this is fascinating.
Oh.
And so what that guy told you, Marcus, he said, make it a show. That's programmed into like your ether.
That is my DNA. If I can give anybody ever any tip or experience for success, it's that you make whatever you do a show. I mean, make it awesome. I don't care what it is. If you're a mechanic, you can make it a show. You can make yourself the show of the garage.
Can you take us to a memorable scuba dive? You've done 1,500.
Yep.
We could say the most dangerous, the coolest one. What'd you see? The shark coming straight at you and having to put your hand on it. Give us one of the most memorable experiences scuba diving to make us feel, not a story, truth.
I'll give you, no, this is Jimmy talking to you. I'll tell you the truth.
Okay.
It's hard to distill it down to one. There's the ones that were.
Give us two or three.
Okay.
I've never been down. I've snorkeled.
Yeah.
I haven't even dreamt of being down to 100 or 120. I haven't even. So take us there.
Okay. Probably my favorite dive experience of all was in the Virgin Islands, and it was in a situation where the guy worked for Marcus. Every year he had to take his boats out. There were 4 boats that were part of the company for Cruise Bay Water Sports. And they should give me some.
Second
some
time,
love.
yeah.
For
You
my
haven't
plug.
marketed too many people here. This is good.
This is in
Cruise Bay Water
St.
Sports.
John.
St. John Cruise
Still
Bay Water
one of my
Sports.
favorite islands of all. So when you take the boats out, they have to be scraped on the bottom, and then they put this marine paint on them. They have to be painted, and that's what protects them from salt water. Salt water being one of the most corrosive things on earth. So the people who were part of that going, because you didn't have to, he let people, he just said, hey, do you want to go work on this? And if you did, all those people who went and worked on that dirty work, and it's really dirty work, he took us to this special dive spot. Just the people who worked on the boats. And this shipwreck was called the Witch Shoal. And it's called a shoal because it's so large, and it sunk right off the coast of St. Thomas. And it's not everybody knows how to get to it because it's not marked. And you just have to be from that area and know where it is. And you have to do some line of sight, some dead reckoning things to be able to line up and find where it is. But this ship was like a 400-foot long freighter ship that sunk perfectly straight up in the sand. And you could go in it and dive all levels of this ship. Now, this is a day where just us instructors were diving together. And we weren't taking people on tours. We got to just go down and dive for fun. And that was a rare thing, to get to just dive for fun. And that was one of the things he did that, really made you the reason we're down there really ultimately was to just do things like that.
Witch Shoals.
The Wit. Yeah, W-I-T Shoal. And it was just this amazing experience. And it was all of us instructors diving, and we could go in and out through the whole ship. Because a lot of times in shipwrecks, they're on their side or they're upside down.
It can be dangerous.
You can get mixed up.
Yeah.
It's easy to get mixed up, but when the ship is perfectly straight up and down, you can go in it. You can see light coming through the portholes. And that was probably my favorite dive experience of all dives.
So how do you do that for people that are members of Naked Karate Girls?
Uh,
So what Marcus did for you, how do you do that for them?
It's lead by example. I mean, when you talk about actually being a mentor, the best thing I can do instead of telling somebody what to do is for me to be, I call this thing 90% of the time. I need to be 90% of the time. I get a 10% fluctuation. If I get the gig for Van Halen or Black Eyed Peas, it's going to be 100% of the time. Everything else, because that's the very top level. I mean, but I think what is acceptable is 90% of the time. Now, I really just have to lead by example. When people see that I am consistently that is my best way to teach anybody anything.
That's awesome, man. So when you said Black Eyed Peas and Van Halen, why do those two? Why are they? One's the first concert, right? Black Eyed Peas, what's special? You wouldn't have said that if they weren't special.
I think there's just no real special reason for it other than it just popped in my head. We at one time have done several Black Eyed Peas songs. I still think they're just a cool band.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Because I'm interested. Like every time it's like, hey, what's your favorite, and then like why? Whether it's a musician, whether it's a type of music, like what is it? What's the inspiring part of music to you? You know how when the dive instructors went down to dive, and you're like, we just got to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. Other than having to entertain or getting to entertain people who come to your shows, like what's the inspiring thing about music when you're doing it for you? As if a dive instructor's having fun for them as a dive instructor that day, and going down and going through the ship. What's that moment? The music, the bands, listening to your band and maybe playing the same. What?
It's interesting because when I was getting started, the fun aspect and the exciting thing was just the playing music, getting in a room with guys and just playing music. Fast forward to where I am now, the fun part is getting the gig. That's the hardest part of any gig, by the way. Everything else falls into an easier aspect of the show than getting the show. Getting the show is the number one hardest thing to do. Once you get it, though, there's many things that happen until the end of the night. But what's fun is getting the gig, setting all the details up, getting everybody in line where everybody's going, getting everybody to the show, setting the show up, doing the show, tearing the show down, everybody got home safe and had a good time. All of that big burrito is what's fun.
How do you get the gig?
By marketing, of course. We have marketed ourselves as a true business. And I'm a video producer. I've had a company called Silver Sun Studio for 18 years, maybe.
Since 2008 or 5?
No, maybe it is. It is 5. I think you're right. I think you're right.
2005.
That I've had for a long time.
Yep. So we talked about getting marketing. So you're a good marketer.
To be a video producer, you have to become a good marketer. You have to understand marketing concepts enough to where you can be a good video producer. They work hand in hand. I don't think you can do one without the other. I was able to apply all of those things to Naked Karate Girls and still do on a daily basis. It is part of the reason we will get shows maybe more than some other bands. It's not because we're good. It's because, well, we built up a huge following over the years. I really took that super serious, which was creating this
brand.
Absolutely. It wasn't just me who created the brand, but I was a big part of it.
Yeah.
And
there has to be a visionary, one or two. There has
absolutely.
to be, right? It doesn't mean that anybody, at the real estate company I run, it doesn't mean there's people that are any less important. It just took someone to kick this thing off, one or two.
Yeah.
Like let's build the vision, and then let me sell it and get other people to come. And those other people that you sold to come be a part of it, they might be a more important part now, but someone has to be that vision.
Yeah.
Someone has to be like, hey, we're going to jump off here, right? So brand and marketing. Like, see if we can go. This is everybody's world now.
Yeah.
So how do you build a brand versus marketing? Like, brand is like the thing you are. Marketing's telling people about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the brand, it's built over show after show. It's like referral in the sales business. You want to get that call because someone else said, wow, man, this person did an awesome job. Hey, I think you should call them and they'll take care of you. And you get that referral, and it's not like, how much is it going to be? It's like, hey, do you have this date available? We'd love you guys to play, right? I'm sure that happens quite often.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you build this brand?
Oh, the brand, to me, when I think of branding, branding is half a second, meaning you have to be able to, people have to recognize you in half a second. When you drive by on the highway and you look and see yellow in the sky over some buildings, you already know it's McDonald's. That is some of the best branding of all time. Jurassic Park, the movie, the brand of the logo, the dinosaur in Jurassic Park. I still see that as that's McDonald's. They use the same colors. Interestingly enough, Naked Karate Girls use the same colors as Jurassic Park and McDonald's, red and yellow.
It's very intentional, right?
It's very intentional. It's these colors. They're easy to see. Excuse me. But it's that half second. You have to be able to, within a half second, process what that is. If you can't do that, it's not. It's not
brand.
It's not as strong.
Yeah, it's not as strong. Yeah.
It might be something create. There are some very. I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah.
These are just my ideas about it. Branding is something that is something recognizable very quickly.
Yeah.
The marketing of that is, like you said, it's the being able to take that brand and throw it out there to where people keep saying it.
So is that what you guys have become? What I know you don't like the word expert, but is this what you've become proficient and good at? Is the marketing of this thing now? Like you're talking about Naked Karate Girls.
I feel confident in agreeing to that.
Yeah. Okay. So the brand, I knew the brand before I even met you.
Yeah.
Right. And so the brand's there. You guys are fun. You're entertaining. But unless you stay in front of me and top of mind, so that as a company leader, I'm thinking about, hey, we're going to have an event. We need to get a musical act in here. Who pops into my mind? So I teach it from a real estate perspective. Guys, you got to be top of mind. So when someone thinks real estate, they think you. Because there sure are 6,000 people in the city of Cincinnati. So you got to do something from a marketing perspective that reinforces who you are. The brand of who you are, when they go and pull up your social media or they go to YouTube and type your name in, that's what your brand's probably going to be. That's already been done. You've already started to set that. So you guys think that you're marketing this thing well.
I don't think we would be around 14 years later if we didn't.
Okay.
I think people, companies, festivals, clubs, different things that we do, if we didn't have a good brand and we didn't market ourselves well, we probably wouldn't get as many shows as we do. I think people realize that When we say we're going to market something and we're going to be part of an event, they know it's going out there to 70,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if the event wasn't to bring in a bunch of people, we just did a huge amount of marketing for them just on a social media aspect.
Yep. So what do you guys say no to anything?
No.
The band?
Except for you. Just saying no right then.
That was strong, man. I'm like, holy crap, that's the loudest no I've heard in a long time.
We say this little saying, and Lieutenant Jack Wu made this saying, which is gigs beget gigs. It's so true. Our best way to keep marketing ourselves is to keep going and doing shows. And so we try our best to find ways to never say no to shows. We have to, obviously, at times, because there'll be dates in June and July and August where we have eight opportunities where people want us, but we can only do two to three, four. We actually have done more than that. We did 4 shows in one day. It's very common for us to do 4 in a day, but we are going to have to say no every now and then. But
do everything you can.
We do everything that we can to try to. Well, can we find a different date? Can we find a way to do it? And if we can't do it, hey, let's get us ready for next year.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Personally, or from the band?
Personally.
Personally, that my legacy is just that people liked being around me, and I was a positive kind of person who got people together. I think if I had to think, the quickest way to answer that anyway.
Yeah, because I think it's like how they feel about you once we're gone, right?
Yeah. I'm really not so worried about the things that I leave behind, or I accomplish this or that or whatever. Just that people have a good time being with me.
So Wednesday nights, right? So Dave's going to get this out on all the places that are Spotify's and YouTube's and all this. So, but Wednesday nights at the Beer Cellar and Hooters in Newport.
8 o'clock, yeah.
8 o'clock.
We share pretty much every night. Yeah.
8 to 10?
8 to 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
With a 30-minute intermission.
It really depends. If we're
rocking in and screaming, you give me some water and let's go.
Yeah. There's sometimes we play straight three hours, yeah.
How do people, if somebody wants to book you for an event, like what do they do? Where do they go, man?
And just go nakedkarategirls.com.
That's too easy.
It's so easy.
That's too easy.
It is. On purpose. It's we have a couple kiosks there where people they want to go get a wedding, they want a corporate show. It's real easy to just look on an individual page and see videos and see information about each kind of show. I mean, we're going to easily do 80 weddings this year. 80. We're going to surpass 250 shows. It's our busiest year we've ever had. Last year we did 216 shows. That was our busiest year.
Really?
Coming off of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 216.
It was funny because we talked about it and we were trying to forecast, what we were, guessing might happen. And we thought that first year after COVID was going away and things would snap back, they did. But we were really concerned about the next year. Would that demand still be there?
Yeah.
And it has been. We just keep on, it's like we keep on building traction, and it's almost like we're just starting.
It's awesome, man. It's like this compound effect. The more you do it, and everybody thinks it happened overnight. And it's like, oh, man, if you could share with us all the pain. Do you have this moment, as we get wrapped up, do you have a moment, I call it a do whatever it takes no matter what moment. Do you have like this moment that stands out in your mind? It's like, man, that was a defining moment.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, I call those moments acts of sheer will. You just willed it to make it happen. We have this situation where we had a weekend where we played in Michigan City on a Friday. We came back to Cincinnati on a Saturday morning so we could do an event at Superior, one of the car dealerships, the Superior
Honda
dealership. Superior Chevrolet, I think.
Okay.
Down in, I can't think where it was. Anyway, we did that show, drove back to Michigan City to play Saturday night, and then we left to drive to Key West from Michigan City. Michigan City is about 5 hours from where we are now.
It's about 30 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so on the way to, this is now a Sunday. We're supposed to start on Monday night in Key West, Florida. And we start driving. We break down in somewhere in Indiana. We get this. We had a van and a trailer, and just all of a sudden it just stopped running. This is a Sunday now, and we're somewhere in Indiana.
Supposed to be in Key West on Monday night. Playing.
This is now Sunday afternoon, probably 4 or 5 o'clock. We call and get a tow, 2 tow trucks, one for the van and one for the trailer. As we're doing this, Lieutenant Jack Wu, Glenn, and myself are both on the phone calling to try to get different options. We don't know what's going to happen. Can we get it in any place open on a Sunday to get it fixed? We don't even know what's wrong with it. I already, and from my experience, could tell we weren't going to get it fixed on any Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. So what he's trying to find a place that'll fix it. I'm trying to find a place that we can rent a truck that we can pull the trailer back to Cincinnati. Pull the trailer back to Cincinnati. And then once we get to Cincinnati, then we can trade vehicles and we have another truck, which is what we did. We left the van in wherever in Indiana, and we rented a budget like box truck. It's the only thing that had a trailer hitch. I don't think we were supposed to be doing that, but we did.
Let's call it. It was 1-800-RENT-A-TRUCK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we pulled the trailer back to Cincinnati. We had everybody here in Cincinnati waiting with like our luggage and stuff to be able to take the trailer off the budget, leave the budget truck. We actually drove to budget and left the truck there that we rented and put the trailer on another truck that we had here. Then drove to Key West. By this time, we were fighting the clock. We start playing at 10 o'clock on Monday night. We show up in Key West at 8 o'clock. Got our stuff loaded in. We've all been up now for
30 hours.
More, because we played Friday night.
Michigan City.
Drove back to Cincinnati. We didn't really sleep.
Played here.
Back to Michigan City. Played there. Right back in the van. We all were awake. Well, we took turns driving once we got in the truck going to Cincinnati. But we're all exhausted. We show up with 2 hours to spare. We load her in our gear. Go on at 10 o'clock.
How was that show?
And it was awesome.
Why? Why do you do all that? Why do you go through it?
It's an act of sheer will. They don't care that we had a breakdown. All they care about is they hired us and we're in Key West and we're there to be the greatest party in the galaxy. We either do that or we don't. Another thing I like to say is you can't sell Coke to people and show it with Faygo.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for what you guys see. The insight into this is, I don't know, next time I go see Naked Karate Girls, it'll make me appreciate it more.
Good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, Dave will get some stuff out here, and I don't know, maybe you have 2 more fans on a Wednesday night. We don't know if anybody else will come, but maybe we'll come down there, man.
You guys now, you're responsible to come down.
Okay, now we got to get like 5 people. Is that the over-under? Like 5 people.
At least.
At least 5 people.
Yeah.
I think they're. Thanks for the conversation, man. See, I always know when we sit down, there's so much more to people. If you've done anything in life and you've done it for 14 or 20 years, there's some things under there that tell a story and you evolve. It's like, how's this person sitting here and it's done this? And people are always more interesting, complicated, sophisticated, and intelligent. You shared a ton. I think there's so many things you shared today, 2 or 3, that Dave will do some outcuts on that are just awesome. That if people, man, if they listen to some 30 seconds clips, it's like, all right, man, I get it. I get what I need to do.
Let me ask you, what is your thing? Like you asked me, like, what would I offer to people to be inspired, all those sorts of things, just since I'm here talking to you?
I think I have this fundamental belief that I think all humans, I think we want to live a better life. I just have this feeling that how we were raised, no matter what we went through, whatever the experience is, I think we all have this vision of living a better life. And you don't know what that's going to become until you start living it. You find a passion, you go all in. But I had this idea that if I could find something in life that first I could start living a different life. I grew up humble, very humble in northern Kentucky. And we were poor, but I didn't know we were poor. It was like, right, it was our existence. And I look back and I'm not mad about it. I actually have appreciation. I probably grew up just poor enough that led me down a path that I could be sitting here today. So I found this thing. It just happened to be real estate, that financially I could start changing my life and living a different life the way I was raised. And then I had this moment. I'm like, it's not all about money, because I don't need anything else. Have enough money, could check out and just probably go to St. John's and buy a place for whatever. And I had this moment that when I started the real estate company 15 years ago, and I said, you know what, let me give a taste of this to some other people. Let me just give them a taste, because I'm a normal dude, man. I think anybody that has a decent level IQ could accomplish and achieve and be at the same spot I'm at, and there's many that are going to get a lot further. So I said, but let me share some of the things I've learned to cut down this learning curve a little bit, just to have a shot at living a better life. And so then the more I started doing it, I found a passion and a purpose within, like, man, this is pretty damn cool. This unlocks so many things in life. And so what I figured out is when we can get to a place of financial freedom, I'm not talking about being rich, I'm not talking about being wealthy, not allowing the day-to-day bills stress you out, because that stress will ruin your life.
All right.
I think the financial, we can get through divorces, we can get through breakups, we can get through people passing away, but it's so, we've probably all been through it if you grew up poor or you run businesses. That's the worst the financial stress is the worst stress I've ever had in my life. And if I could give people a true option of not just living a 9 to 5, an option of really choosing financial freedom, paying off your bills, paying off your house, and get to this spot that, regardless of the money, what do I want to exchange my time for? Like, what's the thing? Like, because that's all we're doing.
Yeah.
We're exchanging our time for a way we want to live our life.
Trading time.
That's all we are. Yeah. And so I just said, man, this thing has been great for my life, what it's giving me. And then I also saw, I'm not on stage, but I said, man, if I go all in and try to be a great realtor and great at real estate, and I care about my clients and care about every individual outcome, I'm changing the way they feel about this transaction. How's that impacting their life and their family? So I found passion in doing an awesome job at my job, and how it was changing consumers' lives versus I saw experience with other realtors. And then I also said, man, let me take these average people making 40 and 50, 60 grand a year. Like, let me show them that they really have a shot to become financially free. Not some hocus pocus, not some multi-level marketing. I'm not trying to insult things, but,
sure.
And I found this passion that taking average people like I was and am and, like, giving you a shot to live an awesome life, man. It just happens to be real estate that we're doing it with. And I know it's possible, and I want to build people up and say, hey, just have some self-confidence, let's build some self-esteem, believe that you can live a better life than you're living now, because I promise you can. Like, just come and do this thing with me. So I love to hear these stories about people, and it feels good when people are like, hey, man, you helped change my life.
Yeah.
When that happens,
yeah,
that's a good legacy. I don't need anybody to know it, how it feels for me. So I don't want to generically change people's lives. I mean, I want to unlock them financially and allow their mind to be free and enjoy life a little bit more, because financial stress sucks.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't think we can do it through playing on stage. We can do it through real estate. We can do it through conversation. So I just want to help people, like, believe in themselves a little bit more and have them know, like, man, you can do it. Like, the thing you look up to, whoever that person is on TV, whoever that person is on the radio, whoever's up on stage playing that band, like, you can do that. You just got to believe in yourself and go all in. So there's principles you shared today. Man, there's 2 or 3 significant things. I'm sitting back here learning, like, yep, there it is. Yep. See, everybody has a 72-hour moment like that in life. From Michigan City to Key West.
Yeah.
But most people don't show up, man. That's what I found.
I think most bands or people in whatever situation like that would have just been like, is this not going to happen? Mm-hmm. Thought crossed our minds, like, hey, can we really make this? And it, trying to broadcast down, luckily there was no time change, working against us too. But
you found a way, man.
We willed.
You found a way. Even if, and here's what I know, even if you would have gotten there at 9:45, y'all would have done something.
Well, oh, yeah.
You would have rolled up on stage at 10.
Yep.
It might not have sounded the best. It might have looked like a disaster. But you would have been there, and you would have given it your all and done one hell of a job. And that, what I figured out in life is, it's not as much you lived up to your commitment. It's not as much about the experience of the people in the crowd or living up to the commitment to the people who hired you guys. You taught yourself something that day, man. You and the people around you taught yourself something. You now reach another level, like, oh, now we can do that. You're just set up so much better for the next thing that's even going to come even close to that, maybe. You're like, we got this. No problem.
It's one other experience I'll share is that I worked with some Navy SEALs. And this is when I was kind of working and figuring out what I was going to do with scuba diving when I was taking a break from music. I worked at a commercial diving operation, and I went and did some different things with these Navy SEALs. And I had a situation where a very dangerous situation, a very near-death experience. and where I got stuck in the mud under, not very deep, only about 30 feet of water. And it was really sort of life altering in a way, because it was a really, really close to death experience. After that, though, after I got myself out of that and I made it, I mean, everything else seems kind of like simple and still easy compared to that. And the fact that I was able to make it through and I didn't give up, it's a real life-changing lesson when you go through something like that, hey, things are going to be tough. It's part of life, you know. They're not all going to be perfect days. You're going to have rough times, you know, but you stick it through, you get yourself through and move on to the next thing. And you're never failing as long as you keep learning.
There's so many of these things, man. So that's what I want. And we talked to Dave as building this podcast and what we're going to do with it, man. I literally just want people. I think self-confidence and self-esteem, from what I've found, is those are the two foundations to like unlocking life. That's what I've seen. I don't know if I'm right. It's an opinion, but it's a pretty well-formed opinion of being around hundreds and thousands of people, because I believe that I'm not a great musician, but if I really applied myself for 2 or 3 years and I could entertain well enough, I could be up there with you guys. If you decide to get a real estate license and you went all in and studied and were mentored by people and stuff, in 12 to 18 to 24 months, you'd crush it.
Yeah.
Right? So I just think it's this belief that like you can do things. And I heard this thing a while ago, and I don't remember who it was, but they talked about, they might have even been a therapist and helping people work through massive problems in life. And they said, hey, you know all those struggles you've been through, right? They're going on this path. They're like, yeah, okay. It's like, well, hey, you know you beat them all, right? And the person's like, what are you telling me? He's like, you're sitting here talking to me today. Reflect on your life and all these really tough moments. We've all had, whatever your toughest moment is, you probably didn't share it today. Whatever my toughest moment is, I don't know, it might have been under 30 feet of water, but I'm assuming it wasn't. We made it through. And we look back on life, we all have the toughest thing that's ever happened to us. And it's different, but we made it through it.
Yep.
And so what I want to is to prepare people like, hey, just know what that is. Know what those 1 or 2 things is, and that should give you the confidence that you're going to face a lot of other tough shit, like you said.
Yep.
And when you face that stuff, it's like, guys, you've got what it takes inside. You just got to like believe in yourself and surround yourself with great people that are positive like you, right? That I don't think life should be as difficult and as much of an arduous task as sometimes we make it.
Yeah.
I think it's too special, man. And so I just want people to, I want to help them live the best life they can live, man. You know, while we're here physically on the earth, whatever you believe, whatever you think is going to happen to us, wherever we're going to go, I just want you to say, hey, like, I want you to wake up every day and be passionate and inspired by whatever you're doing.
That's a good legacy.
That's what I want to, man. And I think if we can do that, and I surround myself with people smiling every day, and help them through some of the tough times, like, yeah, let's do this, man. Yeah, it's hard. Shit, man. There's things that we're going to face this year individually, privately. They're going to be tough as shit.
Yep.
And so I want to have fun, but you're a guy that has a lot more fun than me. I'm passionate, I'm committed, but I love that about you. Like for you to have this perspective of, I've heard fun probably 15 or 20 times in this conversation.
It's so important. I think that
I can learn some of that
comes down
from you,
to
man.
it. Even people who are working other jobs so they can go boating on the weekend. I mean, hey, the boating is the fun, right? So you do what you got to do to have fun. You do whatever it is. I mean, each person has different dreams, you know. But hey, there's doers and talkers in this world. You got to figure out which one you're going to be, though. Doers and talkers. You know, be a doer.
That's awesome. I think I'm pumped about every time I meet somebody like you. I'm fascinated of, let me go out and dig more, man, because the experience that brought you here. What do you think, like, and I said wrap it up like 3 times, but I just love talking to you, man. But what do you think when you have these introspective moments for yourself that you don't have to be humble if you don't want to, like with you, and you want to think, maybe you're sitting out by the pool and it's one of those relaxing nights, and I don't know if you're a reader, if you read, or what you're listening to. What's your characteristic? Like, what's the Jimmy thing? Is it, what is it, man? What would how would you describe yourself without everybody else listening to yourself? It's like, man, what's he all about? Who is he? What's the word? What's the characteristic? What's the adjective? I know fun, but like, what's this thing become here? Because we know you're only like 25 now.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I just still feel like I'm a creative person, and that can mean anything, you know, but I'm always wanting to breathe life into things. I love I love the starting things, creating something that wasn't there, and being able to have a way that it was awesome. And it's something that you keep growing. I never like to, I think things that you make awesome, typically they don't end. Like you keep growing into bigger things. It's, I'm just a creative person. I like creating things and seeing new things, even with our business, from Naked Karate Girls. Every year I try to come up with a new line of business for us. This year was to go international. We're trying to go to Hawaii next year, get ourselves in with like the wedding business or whatever it might be, a corporate business in Hawaii. We're always trying to, I'm always wanting to try to find the thing that we haven't done yet.
You have a desire for growth inside, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think you got to.
Well, if you want to accomplish it, I look at this life as what a fantastic opportunity. However I don't even know, by my mom and dad hooking up at the right moment, man. Like me being that little swimmy that got through versus all the other millions. I wake up and I'm like, man, what an opportunity that I get to design this life that I'm living. And how cool is it to grow and move forward every day? I think it's awesome. And we've all had these moments, but I'm like, man, we get to do what we want to.
Yeah.
And if every day we were a little bit better form of ourselves, I think it's awesome what we can create. I do. I think it's fantastic. So you guys, I heard you say Kona, Hawaii before. Is that your thing in Hawaii?
Kauai is what I said. Yeah.
Okay.
Kauai is probably my favorite place I've ever been.
You said St. John's was, man.
St. John is my favorite island I lived on.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my favorite place that I've actually lived. I didn't get to live on Kauai, but I went and visited Kauai, and it's probably one of my favorite places I've been. So yeah, Kauai be okay.
Okay, it will be all right. So what is that, man? Are you the sandals, linen pants, untucked button up, let the hair flow, dude?
I'm the totally. Are you for SCUBA guy?
Okay. Wasn't there a movie with Jennifer Aniston? And remember the scuba guy, or the swim instructor coming out of the water, and I think she left her husband for this dude or something, man. But you're the scuba guy.
I think it was actually a Leaving Sarah.
Oh, Silverman or something.
Yeah,
that was one of yeah. That was in Hawaii.
Maybe it was.
That was a different one.
I don't know where it was,
but there's too many of these damn stories is what we're talking about here, right?
Whatever it is, I'm that guy.
So you're the scuba guy.
Yeah.
Scuba Steve. Was that like a little thing we had when we were going up? Thank you. Thanks for coming in, man. We'll see if we can get you 5 people to come to a show.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So hopefully how do we do on the cold brew?
The coffee was awesome.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The girl who brought it in was awesome, and she nailed it.
Awesome. Good, man. So it's better than the Coca-Cola.
Yeah, between the two, I definitely would go with the coffee.
One final question.
Yeah.
What's up with the blank hat with no logo on it?
Well, hey, I'm not being paid for this hat, am I? It wasn't part of a show I played, so if I get a hat, it's just, unless I'm being paid for it, it's just going to be blank. But it's a big space for the necessary entrepreneur.
Look at you, man. Okay. You're an anarchist, man, at heart. I like that little thing. Even though you're more wild than I am, I love it because I just don't wear branded things, and people give me grief on it.
I think it's our generation, honestly. I don't like, unless it's something that I make money from or somebody that I work with that I want to promote as well.
Yep.
I don't like to have logos on my clothing. No.
Everywhere around town. Hey, Dave, I wear the same gear all the time, don't I? I have our real estate company plastered on my hat, on my shirt. And I'm like, if I'm going to advertise for somebody, I'm going to advertise for myself.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in my game. That's awesome, man. Okay, so Dave, take the logo. Can you throw it, in post-production, can you throw the logo on his hat and trick him back? Hey, did he know that's our colors, too, of the podcast? That's our exact.
Honestly, didn't.
Look at the curtains behind.
Yeah, I know.
Look at this.
I did not know it.
You set something up.
It's weird because I, reached up and I have a thing of hats. I was like, and this was behind a bunch of hats. I just pulled this one out. It's like, oh, okay, this one.
That's me today.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, man. This is awesome.
Thank you.
And
enjoyed it.
Yeah, Naked Karate Girls, here we come. Thanks, Dave. What do you have to kick in here, Mr. Dave, producer? Anything else? I don't know if your mic was working great earlier, man.
I don't know. It's good.
It's not working great, man. Do you have to hit the other button?
Can't hear it.
No, it's not at all. Oh, well. But we can hear you a little bit, man. What do you have, like a musician to a musician?
Probably the biggest question.
I'll have to reproduce it here to you.
Super creative. You have cover bands and you have people that write their own stuff. What made you kind of go in the cover band direction?
Did you hear it? So we're gonna reproduce that?
The question, I'll repeat that, was between cover bands and originals bands, why did Naked Karate Girls go into covers? Well, initially speaking, Cincinnati, I don't know how many original bands you've seen around town, but I haven't seen too many of them. I've done it. I've done original bands, but have you heard, you probably haven't heard of them. I did my own record. I did a movie soundtrack for a movie called The Black Dove, and I wrote probably 30 some songs, and it distilled down to 10 or 11 songs. And I made a record, so my own record, Jimmy Lee King, 1,000 Miles from Here.
Keep moving forward.
Keep moving. Yeah, there's
a song.
Yeah, there's that song as well that I just put out there. I never really recorded that song, but that's on my Facebook page, I believe. I just did that during COVID, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a songwriter, and I did some stuff for Naked Karate Girls initially, but people are really more interested in just the partying aspect. And from a business standpoint, we're still building ourselves. But here recently, though, I'm revisiting the original music thing for Naked Karate Girls, and I'm writing a lot of music right now, and we're looking forward to potentially very soon having some releases. And there's a show we're doing on October 7th at Memorial Hall.
In Louisville?
No, it's Memorial Hall in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And Bootsy Collins is going to be the MC of the event, and his son Uwe Collins is going to be playing before Naked Karate Girls, and that's on October 7th. But there's some potential for some things to align, some planets to align, along with the Bootsy thing, and some things that
some
we might
collaborations and some things
potentially.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
never know what happens, right? I see you're holding back a little bit. I get it, right?
Well, you never know until it's over. And but we're working on some things to where we might be able to do a release of one of our first original songs on that night.
We've always wondered, to compound on that too, Dave, it seems like there's so many awesome musicians in the world that have their own creative original work that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard. I don't care whether you're look at all the people in Nashville. Look at all the talent down there.
Yeah.
I don't know them.
No.
I don't know. And so who's the right person that walks into that bar I don't know. And I see so many famous musicians, I'll say, you don't have to use in a business, that aren't good. Like, I listen to some music and I'm like, that wasn't good. Something about the brand, something about the marketing, something about one song. I don't know. And so it sounds like the original path is not only it's hard, you could be great and it still just not work.
Yeah.
Right? So it seems.
Yeah, I've done several albums in my life, and I think that they're good. They're good albums, but they just haven't had a success for selling.
I heard the other day, who did I hear? And I don't know, like, this is blasphemous. I shouldn't even go here. Dave, you might have to cut this out, but I think I heard, talking about Elvis, the new Elvis movie came out.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say if I've always been an Elvis fan or not. Every time I say somebody that's truly loved that I'm like the biggest fan, people hate me. But I forget who it was that said they weren't impressed by him. Who was it? Who's one of the biggest jazz musicians of the time who played with him? Oh man, it's of that age
of Elvis.
Yeah, but it wasn't Elvis, but it was a guy who's who's the blind musician, not with us, Ray Charles.
Okay, yeah.
So Ray Charles, it's out there on YouTube or on Facebook. He just wasn't that impressed with Elvis. He wasn't talking bad about him. I knew way more musicians that were better than him.
Well, what's interesting about that is music is seen as well. It's not just heard. So if you couldn't see Elvis, how could you really put all those? Now, I think Elvis was a great singer, don't get me wrong, but he was a real rebel for the time. He was just as...
They were putting him in jail. They were arresting him, taking him off stage.
He was the devil to those people, and that's what made him scary. And, being scary is what was needed.
Yeah. Like, I'll listen to sometimes, I hear some of these voices in like a Bruce Springsteen or a Johnny Cash, and I'm like, their voices aren't angelic.
It's, what, it's not about being that, though.
Yeah.
Okay, David Lee Roth, to go back to that, he does not have some great singing voice. He was just the perfect rock and roll salesman for Van Halen.
There you go.
He was perfect for them. You put some really great singer in Van Halen, it doesn't work. It's not about, listen, rock and roll is an attitude. It's not a technique. The whole idea of rock and roll is not a technique. It's about the feeling of it. And quite honestly, these perfect performances don't really have a place in real rock music.
It's awesome. All right, we're going to talk forever. We better let this man get back to his business.
Hey, we can do it again.
Thank you,
sometime.
bro.
This
Yeah,
is a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think what Dave does, he's going to start making us look awesome. So it's hard to make this guy look good, but not this guy. So
Yeah, well, it'll be so simple just to scroll through and scrub through and find the right parts. All right.
next time you're going to have to tell us about, if we get you back in here, even if it's 30 or 45 minutes when something's happening, is like St. John's. What about St. John's? Like, what about that island? What about it's awesome? Is it the...
Oh, I'll talk all day about my experience on St. John.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
there's a ton on that.
All right, so it's an incredible place to go. And the St.
yeah.
John's is in the U.S. Virgin Islands,
Yeah,
not the British. Because like
Correct.
Tortola, isn't that British?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
there's
they're
3
right.
American Virgin Islands, U.S., and that's
St. Thomas, St. John's, and
St.
St. Croix.
Yep.
Okay. St. Croix is like a forest, kind of, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I never went to St. Croix. I wanted to, but it just didn't happen.
It's a longer boat ride and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Enjoyed it.
Yep, thank you.